But you don't even have the sense to even look in our face. But you rather just steal our money and do what you want to do.
South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of...
All right, everyone, buckle up because we're about to dive into one of the wildest political dramas you've probably never heard of. Tiffany Henyard, the so-called super mayor of Dalton, Illinois. She might not be as well known as some big city mayors, but trust me, her actions could easily fill an entire season of a reality TV show. We're talking full-blown parks and recreation-style chaos. So, who is Tiffany Henyard, and why is she making headlines for all the wrong reasons? Let's break it down.
In many weeks, Dalton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together.
Let's set the scene. Tiffany Henyard was elected mayor of Dalton in 2021, and at first it seemed like a win for the people. She was young, energetic, and promised to bring much-needed change to the town. But fast forward a couple of years, and things have taken a serious turn for the worse. Henyard's time in office has been marred by one scandal after another, ranging from outrageous taxpayer spending to allegations of using the police as her personal security detail. And if that wasn't enough, she's now facing eviction. Despite earning over $300,000 a year, she allegedly hasn't been paying her rent. Yep, you heard that right. Before we dive into the eviction saga, though, let's take a step back and look at her time in office. She started off with a bang, literally. Henyard threw an inauguration party that reportedly cost $155,000. Although she initially claimed the funds would come from her campaign, it turns out the town ended up footing the bill. A bit of a red flag, right? But things were just getting started. Henyard quickly became known for her extravagant lifestyle. Seemingly funded by taxpayer dollars, think first-class flights, luxury hotel stays, and an Amazon shopping spree that would make Jeff Bezos jealous. One of the most jaw-dropping expenses, a massive $43,000 spent on Amazon in a single day. While Henyard claims these purchases were for the benefit of Dalton, you've got to wonder, what kind of town emergency warrants that much online shopping?
Meeting because business has not gotten done at 2 previous meetings, so that's some progress there, but this meeting was not without its fair.
Then there's Henyard's obsession with self-promotion. She's taken it to the extreme. Plastering her face on billboards all over town and branding herself as the super mayor. Residents of Dalton are starting to compare her to a dictator. One local even remarked, "Inindadif, it's like Venezuela, isn't that what they're doing over there with Maduro? His face is everywhere, like a dictator." The image of her larger-than-life face looming over every corner of the city is starting to feel less like leadership and more like a personal branding exercise. But it's not just billboards and Instagram-perfect photo ops that have people riled up. Henyard has also been accused of using the local police force as her personal security team. Allegedly, she had officers escort her to social events, pick up her daughter from school, and even act as bodyguards at parties. Not exactly what most people envision when they think about community policing, right? And to make matters worse, taxpayers are footing the bill for all that over time. Estimates suggest it has cost the village upwards of $1 million, a hefty sum for a town already struggling financially.
Landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she said Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments.
So while Dalton is drowning in debt, about $5 million in the red to be exact, Henyard is living it up like a rock star. And this is where the story takes an even juicier twist. After all, what's a scandal-ridden mayor without a little personal drama, right? Enter the eviction saga. Despite the fact that Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, pull in a combined income of over $300,000 a year, they've apparently decided that paying rent is optional. Their landlord, Janetta Hall, claims the couple hasn't paid rent since August, leaving her owed more than $5,000 in back rent and late fees. Hall says she's tried everything to get her money, even showing up at a township meeting to serve Henyard with eviction papers. But so far, no luck. Henyard and Woods have been dodging process servers like they're starring in a political thriller.
At least Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now...
And then things took an even stranger turn. Hall claims that not only did Henyard and her boyfriend stop paying rent, but they also changed the locks on the house, making it impossible for her to enter for maintenance. I gave them 48 hours. Notice and texted them, Hall said. Paul told me there's a coat in the garage and a new lock on the front door. Meanwhile, Henyard has been on a social media tirade, claiming she plans to seek arrest warrants for her political opponents, though she hasn't explained what crimes they allegedly committed. This is I will be seeking arrest for the individuals involved, she declared. I will be pressing charges. It's a lot, and that's just scratching the surface. Henyard insists she's the victim of lies and finger-pointing. It's time for me to speak up, she said. As I always say, truth speaks power grab. That's it. Power, money grab. Here's the kicker. This isn't the first time Henyard has claimed she would expose her enemies and reveal the truth. Earlier this year, she even launched a podcast specifically to tell her side of the story. But predictably, it fizzled. Out after just a few episodes, despite teasing explosive evidence for months, nothing ever came to light. Instead, she's just digging herself deeper, one Facebook rant at a time. Speaking of digging deeper, let's talk about Henyard's latest mistake. After firing former police chief Robert Collins, she decided to appoint Ronald Burge, a former police chief from Dixmoor who had actually run against her in the 2021 mayoral race. Sounds like a solid decision, right? Well, not exactly. It turns out Burge hasn't worked in law enforcement for years and isn't even qualified to carry a firearm at the moment because he hasn't completed the necessary training. Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even sent Henyard a letter informing her that Burge is inactive and not authorized to exercise law enforcement authority or publicly carry a weapon.
Arrests for individuals involved. I will be pressing.
But Henyard didn't let that stop her from attempting to appoint Burge as the new police chief. The village trustees quickly pushed back, insisting that Henyard couldn't make such appointments without their approval. They even managed to secure a restraining order to prevent Burge from taking the job. However, Henyard, in true super mayor fashion, ignored their objections and went ahead with the appointment anyway. In a surprising turn of events, a judge ruled that Burge could serve as interim police chief for 30 days, even though he wasn't qualified for the position. It's one of those situations that seems too bizarre to be true. So what's next for Mayor Henyard? It seems she's not ready to let go of power, no matter how many scandals pile up. She's already announced her intention to run for re-election and is confident of a landslide victory. They know the truth, and I'm committed to continuing my fight for this village for the next 4 years, she said through her lawyer. However, not everyone shares her confidence. Trustee Jason House, who is running against her, argues that the community is ready for change and doesn't want to continue living under her leadership. With all the controversies surrounding her, it's hard to see how Henyard will manage to secure another victory.
That in order to get a business license or a liquor license, you need.
Let's take a moment to look at some of the public reactions, because, trust me, people have plenty to say. One frustrated commenter asked, "How much longer is this going to go on? Does anyone face consequences anymore?" Honestly, that's the burning question on everyone's mind. How has Henyard managed to avoid accountability for so long? With everything she's dealing with, from the eviction mess to the police chief fiasco, and now an FBI investigation, it's hard to believe that none of it has caught up with her yet. Another observer pointed out the strange irony in Henyard's housing situation, saying, "Why doesn't she own her own house? She owns a condemned rental property that's overpaid by Section 8, with a tenant staying in a hotel while she still collects rent, then she turns around and rents a house herself. Not a single decision she makes seems sound." And honestly, they have a point. It's baffling that someone earning over $300,000 a year doesn't own a home. Instead, she's embroiled in an eviction battle that's making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
A few times to serve them for a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
So what happens next? Will Henyard finally face the repercussions of her actions, or will she somehow manage to hang on to power for another term? And how much more can the people of Dalton take? It's beginning to feel like the town is teetering, on the edge of a full-blown crisis, and her leadership, or lack thereof, is only making things worse. One thing is certain, this won't be the last we hear of Tiffany Henyard. Whether she's dodging eviction notices, appointing unqualified police chiefs, or going on Facebook Live rants, she seems determined to keep pushing forward, even if it's a losing battle. While her critics hope for the end of her political career, she clearly has other plans, as one local put it. Whatever happens, she's not going down without a fight. And honestly, that's one thing we can't deny. She's a fighter. So at this point, no one's really surprised.